this show is good and all. Oh wow, a hot redhead. Yeah, but she probably isn't all that cool. Mother of Scott. I knew this moment would come one day. I'm sorry, ladies, but we have a contender. This will be difficult. How's it going, Warlords? I'm the Dark Britain, and today we're going for a ride. With this video essay, we want to cruise along with Appare-Ranman. In spring 2020, we were inundated with outstanding shows. The forums were lit with discussion. From the meta-relevance of BNA and the Tower of God, these were not the only shows in the spotlight, however. Food Wars was in its final season, and entering their second seasons, Fruit Baskets and Ascendance of a Bookworm melted the hearts of millions. However, one anime that trailed behind and went under the radar was that of Appare-Ranman. In this outstanding bro trip, we follow Appare, a misfit scientist, as he escapes the stuffy life of potential responsibility in Japan through a makeshift boat, accompanied by an emotionally scarred samurai Kosume. He accidentally winds up in San Francisco and enters a cross-country race to earn enough money to return home. How can he enter a race when he made a boat? Oh, you of little imagination. Yes, this Japanese Sheldon Cooper turns his boat into a car and develops a completely revolutionary engine. And what follows is an amazing tale of discovery and friendship. So buckle up, Nakama, because we are going for the ride of a lifetime. To begin, I wanted to briefly touch on the individual characters this story circles around from the beginning of this adventure. Appare is our 19-year-old inventor protagonist mentioned. Kosume, the 21-year-old dutiful samurai tasked with keeping Appare out of trouble. Hototo, 11-year-old Native American boy traveling to find the people that killed his father. TJ, a legendary outlaw that was paid to enter the race. Al, a 19-year-old European heir that is entering the race to make a name for herself and his family. Sophia, the 19-year-old companion from Europe chaperoning Al Leon. Chase and Tristan, brothers that cause problems for their group and serve as early antagonists. Sean Leon, Chinese immigrant living in the US that fights to be a driver alongside men. And Dylan, a legendary outlaw similar to TJ, yet haunted by a troubling past. Combined, these individuals set an excellent pace to help drive the narrative through the first 8 episodes. In episode 9, however, we see the entire slate of racers pull over for some much needed R&R at a small hot spring town. From what I can find, this more likely takes place between Colorado and Arkansas, and within this time, each member is allowed to shine in their own right. This pit stop is where all the drivers who have been in their own lanes until now start to converge, and the story slows down to offer a deep dive into who they are. This would almost come off as a typical filler episode, but the character interactions and outstanding development really adds new fuel to the formula. Hototo and Chase and Tristan's heart-to-heart. The Bad Brothers and the heart-to-heart with Big Hototo serves as an excellent entry, especially when understanding that these are two of the racers we are not privy to as much as the others. As their place in the episode begins, we are reminded how the rest of the world still views them. These are the faux guild characters, and we see them scaring off a line to a pastry shop, only fully paying for the pies they would walk away with, allowing the humor to drive the narrative and set the tone for the engagement to come. Serious with good-hearted natures underneath, and as they sit down to enjoy a piece of pie, the natives of the Americas allow for the young Native American to bite off some wisdom from their discussion. In asking each other their plans for their race, the concept of protection comes up. While seemingly different at first, Big Bro Chase breaks down that knowing what to protect and what you should protect are two different things, connecting their original disagreement on what it means to protect. Their entire point centering around the fact that if you only concentrate on who you want to protect, you never figure out a way for you to realistically keep whom you want to protect safe. You must get better at what you do and stronger if you want to ensure the safety of those you love. Wise words from the sibling outlaws. TJ and the Europeans. As the episode continues, we see the engagement of the cross-cultural figures that I did not know could elicit such a comical time. We open as TJ, one of the outlaws in the race, comes across and insults Al Leon. This precedes a brief bout of bravado before TJ challenges him to a drinking competition. Al accepts, only to be downed by the first shot. My dude was out cold, and jumping to his defense is Sophia. And this chaperone has some surprises under the hood. As shocked as TJ was, so was the audience and we see him following back in a drunken stupor similar to the state he had left Al in, allowing the camera to fall on the most badass of sights. There on the table were at least 34 shots, meaning Sophia drank at least 17 shots and walked away with the bottle while still carrying drunken Al and having the class to curtsy and bid everyone farewell. In the word of TJ, as he watched that adorable redhead carry her friend and a bottle away, wise words, young man, and honestly, why she made it to the top of the waifu list. With all humor included, this is honestly one of the episodes that secured this series as an all-time favorite. The authentic engagement between characters is brilliantly woven into each second of this anime with very little time wasted. With such a large supporting cast, it can be very easy to get muddled down in some cases. We can see that when the show was finding its strides in earlier episodes. However, by the time we pull up to episode 9, everyone from the writing team, to the artists, to the voice actors, to the characters everyone in the studio creates, each are firing on all cylinders and delivering a show that leaves many other original properties in the dust. With our encounter between TJ and the Europeans, we learn not to judge a book by its cover. The whole show we thought Sophia was Al's partner, or at least some lady from high-to-do society. After she drinks TJ under the table, we get to find out she grew up as a live-in maid, more likely subject to an entirely different adolescence than Al, showing not only the importance of the opportunity she got to travel the world, but also that she has been able to earn a place among this group of wacky racers, even when she isn't behind a wheel. Notice that at this point, we have not even mentioned the main character within the greater narrative, and that lends credibility to the greatness of the show. While we were initially introduced to Pro Tycoon rounding the bend of his adolescence and beginning to venture out, his role was fairly jarring to spectators. With many protagonists, there's a personality that can be latched onto. However, upon first meeting Appare, he was kind of a dick. Not in a bad way. Just really being the type of person that does not allow for any type of emotion to play into his decision making. This was apparent in literally kidnapping Kosume and taking him halfway across the Atlantic, only to be stranded and eventually saved by a passing barge. His general demeanor was very brash in the interactions and overall engagement with the other characters in the story. It was lucky that Kosume did much of the effort in bringing those around that would eventually become the core of the friend group. This includes being open to Big Hototo and literally arguing on his behalf. Halfway through the tale, Big Hototo was captured and Appare had the chance to leave without him. After some debate, the time limit that Appare agreed to expired. As Appare turns our engine on, we see Kosume get out of the vehicle, fully expecting Appare to pull off. But much to his surprise, and ours, the engine is turned off and Appare climbs out of the vehicle to perform more bits of maintenance. The cracks begin. But this bout of character growth through outside engagement truly shifts gears when the main bad reveals himself. In order to avoid massive spoilers, I'll keep this as brief as possible. When I joke about the reveal, the instances are by no means a laughing matter. In reveal of the big bad, Appare was not deterred by physical violence against himself. The bullheaded nature he arrives into the series with eventually gets him to run his mouth to the point where he gets shot at, but not hit, because Kosume stepped in front to take the bullet. What follows is an excellent glimpse into the mental shift that happens when someone of his nature tries to understand why people would do such a thing. It is an honest display of logic trying to understand love and the mental breakdown of those that rely overly on the initial. His mental capacities have been Appare's defining feature, and the inability to make sense of everything forced his break, which eventually gave him the capacity to move forward in a different frame of mind, finally forcing him to acknowledge that not only have those around him won his trust to the point of him caring about them, but to incorporate the thoughts of others into his decisions. While there is such a deep conceptual premise that has driven the narrative of this essay, the true gem of this anime is the authentic humor that comes from the character engagements within the show. One of the greatest depictions to be reflected upon comes when contenders for best overall boys, Dylan and DJ, begin their ascent to take on the big bad. Up until now, these two have been lovable goofs that have been held up as monsters with an ethos, but that has not been seen until now. Their mantra in the town was excellently displayed for their arrival. As with what is happening at their destination, monstrous men are tormenting something lovable and in need of assistance. In their final destination, it is a friend and her captor, But at the gates, we see henchmen shooting at a tied-up dog. With little effort, these initial 3 are dispensed with, and the chain tethering the animal shot in 2, freeing it from its confinement. Thus begins the march and destructions of bodies that can perfectly be compared to a John Wick sequence. These goofballs turn from ones who 2 episodes earlier were causing us to laugh over jokes on haircuts and insecurities to literal plagues leaving bodies in their wake. What has been done in this story to prop up such a large cast is truly exquisite. And as we round the bend and start to run out of gas with this video, we must shine our headlights on the true star of the narrative. An individual whom, if not met, the story would not be the same. It goes without saying that Hototo is best boy. No, not that one. Little Hototo! This little mascot was one of the best running gag characters I have seen in anime. Many times we get a little mascot that joins the journey, but with Appare-Ranman we find a furry Chad that takes each scene every time he scurries by. And if you are thinking this entire essay was inspired partly because of his presence, maybe. So Nakama, we've reached our destination. It's time to pull this one to the park. Hate to break it to the manga readers, but if you thought you could read this one, it's an anime-only original. So with that being the case, hopefully you're ignited and are able to watch Appare-Ranman. Hey you! Yeah you, the amazing Nakama that made it to the end of our content. Hi! I'm the Dark Briton with the Runaway Warlords, and I'd like to personally say thank you for being able to check out our video. If you like what we have, go ahead and subscribe. That'll really be able to help you out. If you want to check out another video, we have one right here. And also, we have a lovely playlist for you to check out right there. I'm the Dark Briton of the Runaway Warlords. Thank you so much for being with us on this journey. We'll catch you next time. Peace!